In between all the coping and seething about the Pokemon plagiarism, one of the things the YouTube community tried to do, emphasis on tried, is try to present Palworld as this based upstart like Japanese company, and the developers have leaned into this quite a lot. Bunky has recently released a statement claiming that the game is entirely self-funded by them and that they don't have any outside investors at all. And that's very observably not true, simply by looking at their background and what they're doing and all that. But again, this was very transparent to me right from the get-go, in which when you boot up the game and you look at the character select screen, you see the Type 1 and Type 2, which of course is a giant red flag and should be rejected by everyone. In fact, this is one of those things that leads me to straight up just boycott games from certain developers if they try and push this nonsense. It's one of the worst things plaguing gaming right now. And thankfully, it's a bit more commonly understood, like what they're trying to do, and like the woke agenda behind it, and just trying to normalize this kind of language when talking about something as ubiquitous as gender, which, by the way, refers to male or female. It's not a spectrum like they try and pretend it is. So, Palworld is very much on board with the woke agenda, even though at the time of release, the entire YouTube community loved to push this idea that Pokemon, which is actually pretty base and red-pilled, was the woke one, and Palworld was some based anti-woke masterpiece. Okay, so it was kind of amazing to kind of see people continue to gaslight themselves about this for years, as Palworld got exposed to their plagiarism, as Nintendo filed their lawsuit, as they began to win the lawsuit, and Palworld is on full damage control mode, doing everything it possibly can to keep some kind of attention on their company. So, what's happened over the past couple of days is that somebody from the Japanese side of things went to their forums and made a perfectly reasonable request, something that I think pretty much everyone can stand by. Please remove Type 1 and Type 2. Because it's stupid, nobody wants to hear it, it's just commie talk, okay? It's for Marxists, it's a propaganda tool, it doesn't reflect reality at all, and most importantly, players don't want this, okay? People don't like seeing Type 1 and Type 2, and if this was a normal industry, the developers would have to back off on it because of how controversial it's been. But it's a major propaganda thing. It's something that the investors want. It's something that the WEF wants. It's something that the elite want to push right now. So in order to try and mainstream this into popular culture, companies have to try and eliminate male and female options. They have to referring to things as male or female. And as a result of that, what we're seeing is companies like Palworld bending over backwards to try and pretend that this isn't an issue, try and pretend this isn't a big deal, and to shut it all down, okay? Because this guy who asked for the perfectly reasonable option to have male or female gender options instead of Type 1 and Type 2 was indeed blocked. He was indeed rejected. His thread was indeed locked down because Palworld doesn't want people talking about this. They don't want people realizing who their investors are. They don't want people realizing that it's all a big psyop. They don't want people realizing that they're trying to force this nonsense onto Japan and the rest of the world, right? People don't want to know that Pocket Pair is indeed full of woke subversives. Because if this got out, its core audience would indeed turn on the game. And this is the first time I think we've seen the core audience, criticize the game in any meaningful capacity. Every other time that something like this has come out, it's all been smoothly brushed under the rug. But this time, all the grifters and all of the anti-wokesters, they're all coming out and for the first time ever are being critical of Palworld and what they're doing and what they're trying to do and the direction their company is taking. What we're seeing is more and more people starting to realize that games like this are just completely imploding and are just entirely based on investor support and trying to gaslight as many people as possible into thinking there's some cool, trendier alternative to Pokemon. And there are signs of this everywhere. When it comes to like the corruption we've seen in regards to like the refusal from the community to do anything about the blatant plagiarism, the attempts at getting the patents thrown out for the lawsuit, and now we're seeing this, where people are just ignoring the reality, or trying to ignore the reality, that Palworld is ignoring their audience. They are ignoring the popular demands of their fans and continuing along with the woke agenda, type 1 and type 2 gender options. And it is something that, I do think is doomed to failure. Like, honestly, at this stage, like, as type 1 and type 2 start, like, becoming more mainstream and more understood, like, it's just going to result in the same thing it always does, where, like, more and more people will start, like, pushing back against it, and more people will, like, start, like, calling out these companies, right? Like, Palworld was this beloved company because of how people thought they were going to destroy Nintendo and destroy Pokemon, and yet immediately their core base turned on them over this shit. This is something that Palworld will not be able to survive. And yeah, they do have investors. They have that deal with Sony. Yeah, they do have like all these alternative methods of income. So they probably don't even need their terminally online Twitter audience anymore. But like with the lawsuit well underway, with the user base drying up, with like more and more people like noticing these kind of things, like this game isn't gonna have any kind of long-term relevancy. And in fact, it's already kind of demonstrated that it only kind of exists as like the anti-Pokemon, and it has no real appeal of its own. This is something that has completely fallen apart, is irrelevant, nobody cares about it anymore, and it's going to be things like this that like permanently kill it off for good. Like, this is going to be the thing that just completely eradicates Palworld as a property. More so than the lawsuits, more so than the plagiarism, more so than like the superiority of Pokemon. It's going to be the refusal to do what the fans want. This game was billed as something that was like, something for the fans, something that was going to be like, actually something that would like evolve the Pokemon formula and take it into a wild new direction. And this is the end result. Like fucking pronouns. This is something that I do think people need to like speak up about and kind of advocate against, I should say, because we do need to boycott this. Like, this is a game that never should have gotten the momentum it did. It never should have gotten such widespread support. There should have been a lot more pushback towards it. Like, this is a game that was always doomed to failure.